Welcome to Enduring Places, a series where we answer owners' questions around increasing resilience in their existing buildings. For this conversation, we're going to focus on operational resilience. We're going to share ways that the built environment contributes to future readiness and how solutions can be measured in terms of those investments. So much goes into helping owners and operators be aware of climate risks and preparing their buildings for those changes. We have a few of my colleagues, friends, and subject matter experts today for this conversation. Maybe we'll start with you, Sue. Sue's one of our climate risk scientists at WSP. And what are some of the crucial lessons learned that building operators and owners can learn from climate preparedness?
Yeah, so I think one of the main things, when we're thinking about climate risk is taking that forward-looking view. So a lot of times, a building, a facility, it's designed for today's environment and not for all of the challenges that the changing climate may bring. So a building may face a much more stressful environment by the end of its lifetime. And so one of the tasks of a climate risk assessment is to bring people together to try to think about, okay, what does that future more stressful environment look like? And how might the building perform?
So interesting. When that comes to the building performance, does that include preparing the occupants, the staff, the operators, and how they interface through those climate situations?
Absolutely. That's a really important part of it. And I think one of the real benefits of a climate risk assessment is you are bringing together many stakeholders who are involved in the life of that building. For example, a hospital project that we worked on together, we brought in people from facilities, people from sort of the corporate management of the hospital chain, and we brought in people from the nursing staff, just many stakeholders who are involved in the life of that hospital. So just bringing people together to talk about climate risk and sort of increasing hazards that they may face from severe weather lets you understand sort of the current systems and where there may be gaps in emergency planning or business continuity preparedness, and sort of starts that dialogue that really can increase resilience for not just the facility, but the facility and its surrounding community.
That's so important. Jaco, one of the things we look at when we're planning resilience is making sure the building remains operational and reinstating those existing services. But what else do building owners need to consider that's outside those vulnerabilities in the physical?
Yeah, so building resilience, how we address it is really we want to prevent an outage, but we recognize at some point there may be an incident, whether it would be an adverse weather event, whether it would be a cyber attack. And in those instances, how does the building recover? And then we also focus on how do we optimize the operations, both in a operation as usual, as well as in an emergency operational state. So there's three facets that we look at. I think what's important to recognize is that digital transformation is indeed changing the way buildings are being designed and the way the buildings are being operated. That brings with itself a challenge in that the engineering design needs to adopt, but also the actual building operations and the staff that currently operate buildings, the facility managers, need to acquire new skills. So what we've seen some interesting trends with younger professionals moving into the FM space, the facility management space, and how we need to design the building interfaces in such a way that we leverage aspects of gamification to entice them and to feed them information in a processed manner, in a succinct manner, to help them optimize the building operations. Cyber threats are major. We're seeing it across various industries, whether it's healthcare, whether it is rail, whether it is commercial and retail spaces. And as part of maintaining operations and a resilient portfolio, ensuring that you have adequate protection and a robust cyber protection mechanisms in place is critical for buildings to continue operating, not just for the building's safety, but also for the occupants that use that space.
So when we're talking about that investment, we're looking at it across the enterprise, and that, as you said, not only how you look at those penetration vulnerabilities, but let's say from a climate training and risk scenario standpoint, kind of going back to Sue, looking at it holistically. How do you see that investment and that change? Is that a day one, day two? Is that a 5-year investment? What does that roadmap look like?
Yeah, I think it's different for each organization and for each facility type. What we do see is because of climate change, because of an increased focus on energy efficiency, on carbon net zero goals, there's a lot more technology gets implemented, whether it is metering, whether it is increased Internet of Things, IoT sensors. So what happens there is more data is being generated, and data allows for something that we push hard on is data-driven decision making. But as we generate more data and as we connect the different systems to one another, and then making use of IP protocols because it can transfer data quicker, we can analyze the data, we can tag the data, we can make use of well-established IT tools to slice and dice the data and give these insights. What happens is the systems are connecting with one another, which does mean your cyber attack surface is increasing. So while it provides the benefits of enhanced operations, the building owners must realize, and the design engineers that we work with, we assist them for them to realize, and then together with the designers as well as the building operators, to build a more resilient building, so that you can have the outcomes without sacrificing on the building's resilience and the building's ability to operate in an environment, unfortunately, where cybersecurity or cyber threats are on the increase and becoming way more brazen than we have seen in the past.
So Chris, coming from WSP's owner side and management of large healthcare portfolios, you know firsthand what it's like to move through these crisis modes and to have consideration for climate change. What tools can owners expect and to use, plan, and mitigate those operational impacts?
Yeah, it's really difficult to manage these things in the heat of the moment, so there's a lot of tools available that I think are very important. Having detailed building information, having a system where you can get to that data where it's safe and secure, but you can get to it when you need it. And I'm talking about things like, how this electrical infrastructure works, how the mechanical systems, where the valves and the shutoffs and all the things that you need in the moment. If you could access those things at your fingertips, that's gonna mean minutes, or it's gonna mean damage. It's gonna mean dollars if you can get to it when you need it. The same thing with having the full picture of what your assets look like. Having a CMMS system where you could see that data, you can see what all your building infrastructure, your air handlers, and all that kind of stuff. What is the state of it? Is it in good shape? Are there things that we need to replace? Couple that with risk modeling. Really the tools are getting much more sophisticated, so you can understand what all the climate risks, like Sue was talking about. You can see where the flood risks and drought and all those kind of things. You can use that, and you can couple that with the building information to get the full risk picture. What is our cost? What is our dollar exposure? And I think having that up front helps mitigate some of that. If you can see these things, you can put that data in front of your leadership, and they can make better decisions and start to mitigate some of those things ahead of time, rather than in the heat of battle when you're when you're facing down a big storm, for example. Also training, having plans and playbooks. So those are tools that are critically important. And as Jaco mentioned, having a good technology base mitigates some of that. You'll have some of those folks that rather than having to have that education or those skills, because we're seeing fewer and fewer of those folks have those skills that we're used to. So having automation, having technology as a support system to help manage some of those, I think that's absolutely critical, because it's not just what we can do in the moment, it's also helping folks that are very well-meaning make mistakes that can often be catastrophic. So if you can use a technology backbone to help head some of those things off, it's absolutely important. And then probably one of the last things that I've seen break down is communication. And so having good tools, multi-channels, systems where we can communicate with the folks that need the information, put the information that's needed in the hands of the people that need it when they need it. So to me, that's kind of the name of the game when you're actually in crisis event mode.
Yeah. Go back to Sue for just a second. Yeah, pull at that thread. What are some of the tools and systems that you use with both private clients and public entities that they can inform how climate, how storm systems and things like coastal and tornado patterns can inform what Chris is speaking to?
Yeah, so you just mentioned quite an array of sort of natural hazards that people may need to deal with, and really I think what's important is taking information from all those different data streams and gathering them in one place so that they can be easily reviewed by people who are making decisions. So I think some of the most valuable work that we do is bringing this information into one place. So whether that's sort of a a Power BI interface or digital tooling that is something that WSP does very well. Just making it so that the information's clear and actionable and available for people who are trying to make these decisions under pressure, as Chris was saying.
Yeah, no, my friends, I really appreciate the discussion today. I think it's one of those conversations where it is holistic and it is inclusive of not only the owners, operators from a private side all the way down to the communities and the interface and how people use infrastructure to actually gain access to the services they need in crisis, and being in a place like WSP, this collection of scientists and engineers to study that information and also deliver systems and tools to make it available at your fingertips when you want to be able to act first and not have to react second is a special place to be. So thanks again for your time.